Hello everybody, we're back. This is now your full team of instructors. We have Dave Wagner, Luis Escobar, Yoshi Nakasawa, and the whole KU crew. Over there, that's Kate Engenloff, who is coordinating this whole program. So if you have nice things to say thank you to Kate. If you have not nice things to say, please don't say anything else. Anyhow, we haven't received any questions from anybody about this morning's talks, but we do have some questions among the instructors. So I think Abdullah has a question for Dave. Hello everybody, we're back. This is somebody needs to turn off his event page. Yoshi Nakasawa. Who's got it on? Yoshi? There we go. Somebody killed it.
I think I get, yeah. Off another window. There we go.
Stella, your question for Dave.
Are you going to receive the question without the class or with the class?
However you prefer.
Okay. My question is actually for the data that you presented, Dave, in the slide for the cases for this supposed rodent from 1970 to 2000. These data are seropositive rodent or PCR based? Because you do a conclusion that no cases in the human, so I'm wondering if these rodents are identified or diagnosed based on serology or based on PCR.
Sorry, Tom, can you kind of repeat that? I had trouble hearing.
The question is your figure of historical detections of plague in rodents in North America. Are those from serological detections or PCR-based detections?
It's both. It's everything. So it's all the CDC records. So it would be people going out, and typically what happens is these ground squirrels have these massive die-offs or epizootics, and so people like myself go out and investigate, and that can be confirmed via testing of the fleas at the CDC, which actually still grinds up fleas and injects them in mice and to see if they get plague. We're in the last century. We just test with PCR, but certainly some people do serology. So that was a summary of across a bunch of different data sets. And I would say that, if anything, it underestimates the occurrence of plague because it's only the stuff that we can see that we can actually record, and it's hard to see it.
Okay, thank you, Dave. We have a question from Lawrence Geffert, and I'm not sure with respect to which of the talks. It's either Dave or Luis, but I think any of us can answer who would like to. Lawrence says, thanks for an interesting talk. My main question in regards to the last talk would be this. In biogeography, we often have effort from systematic sampling. If such data are not available, methods to address sampling bias can be used as a workaround. This is the target group background approach, or bias grids. However, the situation in epidemiology strikes me as very different, because ill people will seek out treatment and therefore become active agents rather than observed objects. Are there perhaps chances connected to this difference that could be used in order to drill down to actual distributions rather than biased sampling? Thanks in advance a lot for your answer. Anybody want to take a stab at that?
I just would like to say that for the day number 4 of this course, I'm going to talk a bit about reviews, and there is a nice example of how we use sample bias to correct these predictions, more or less like we used to do in biodiversity, but this time applied to using epidemiology effort from epidemiology. Sorry, difficult word. Yeah, but we can use, for example, surveillance effort. We can correct the sampling using information about how many health centers are, for example. So things like that to correct the background from our models.
That's quite true. In fact, here we've been experimenting more and more with using the bias surfaces, and it makes quite a bit of difference. Early in the development of this course, in the next couple of days, we're going to talk about things like the delimiting the calibration area for these models based on the M area. And so that means that most of these algorithms will pick out either pseudo-absence or background data based on the outline of the M area. But really, we do know that surveillance or the opportunity for reporting, as you might get in epidemiological data, the opportunity for a record to come into our data set is not uniform across those accessible areas. So these bias surfaces become really important when we talk about calibrating models, and they can make quite a bit of difference in the outcomes of your modeling efforts. So we'll talk about this more later in the course, but probably the field needs to do some thinking in terms of how we deal with this difference between kind of the active object versus the observed object, the difference between sick people going to a clinic and seeking out help versus an animal or a plant getting observed and reported.
I think that it would be good to add one more thing in talking about thinking about your data set and having a really good knowledge of the background of the data set. Because in some cases there is active surveillance across the region. And in that sense, then you could sort of treat it as though it were a systematic sampling across the entire region. But of course, other diseases are not necessarily, there isn't active surveillance, or there may not be mandatory reporting. And so it's just a good idea to have a really good background on your data set.
Very, very true. There are no quick and dirty and easy studies. You can probably find some data online very quickly, maybe to study plague, but Dave's entire career has been getting that detail on one system in one region, a couple regions. So, Dave's showing us what you can learn by putting in 10 or 20 years in a system like this. And obviously there's quite a bit to learn besides simple dots on maps or case rates in polygons.
Right.
Any other comments from anybody? Yoshi, Dave, Luis, any you people? Okay, if not, then we will reconvene tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Kansas time. We'll start out with a primer on distributional ecology very generally. Then Luis will come on and talk about how disease transmission systems are different. And I'll be back with a short presentation on applying ecological and biogeographic tools to disease-related questions. And finally, we'll come back to you with questions and answers, hopefully. So if you have questions for the group of instructors, again, remember to send them to this email address, biodivtraining@gmail.com. And even if you have questions about today's material, we can come back to it. So I think we'll wrap up for today, and we'll say a big thank you to Dave Wagner for his presentation. Dave, if you're able to join us in subsequent days, we'd love to have you. If not, big thank you. Thanks to Luis, and thanks to the whole KU and CDC crowds. Thanks for tuning in, Yoshi from Mexico City.
All right, thank you.
Okay, we'll see everybody tomorrow then.
All right, goodbye.
All right.
Bye.